I'm Guha Shankar. I'm folk life specialist at the American Folklife Center, one of the divisions of the Library of Congress. Within the division, I have principal responsibilities for working in the areas of teaching cultural documentation techniques, introducing technology to essentially lay people or community scholars who have had little to no experience with using digital technologies or recording technologies generally. And I also have some responsibility for various collections. I curate and look over, for instance, digitization, reformatting of audiovisual collections, specifically in the area of 16 millimeter film, which is one of our legacy formats here in the center. And so I intersect digital media, digital technology, digital formatting, reformatting in a number of different ways, from the ingest to the archival sort of sustainability of the materials. And that's, in a sense, one of the things that I work on, but that's most germane, I think, to the Oral History in the Digital Age project. Digital tools, the way in which digital tools are useful for documentarians of any stripe is simply, I think, portability. Gone are the days when you had to lug in all of this. I mean, we go back to the days of Alan Lomax and taking in disc cutters into the field. That, of course, was long gone. I came up, for instance, in the age when cassette recorders were all the rage. Then I started going to digital audio tapes. So the quality of the recording, for instance, has gotten significantly better. The problem is that because it's gotten significantly better, it seems that there's certain kinds of techniques and methodologies which people went into the field with, which seems to have fallen by the wayside. And I should back up here for a second and say it's not just that the quality of the recordings is better, it's just that you can record for a lot longer than you were able to, for instance, on one C90 cassette, which was all the standard in the field for oral history. Now you can record for hours at a time. What that does, I think, is places even more burden upon the recordist to be careful about the parameters of the recording, to pay more attention to exactly what the capture is that is taking place in the recording, and to frame the discourse and frame the methodology in a way that's going to be useful and not just turning on the recorder and letting it run for hours on end. There's a certain kind of utility to that, but I think what it does is you want to keep your focus and your discipline even more to the front when it comes to digital technology in this particular day and age. The other thing which I think is both a challenge, no, actually it is just a challenge at this particular point, is the proliferation of digital media and so many formats in so many different realms, be it still photography, be it video technology, be it digital audio recorders. Every one of them comes with a different, every technology and every format and every piece of equipment comes with a different set of parameters. And it's very difficult to sort out the wheat from the chaff. And by that I mean it's very difficult to understand fully what the long-term impact and the long-term implications are of the particular piece of equipment that you buy. Because from an archiving standpoint, what you ingest is going to have to live in a certain place for a long period of time. And in order for that piece of material to be sustainable, you'll have to have had it be as robust and as sound and as a whole file in terms of digital technology as you possibly can. And being seduced by the small, bright, shiny thing is, I think, brings on manifest problems. And I see that from the perspective of the person who takes in collections from field workers who have employed these new technologies. And they went in with all the best of intentions, but there was just a key ingredient which they forgot to sort of include in their project budget and in their planning when they were doing the recording and when they were doing the production. And so that has consequences for the long-term sustainability of all these materials. So there's a few of the challenges and the potential, I think, of digital technology these days. The role of education, whether it's self-education by the individual field worker before he or she goes out in the field, or the role of an institution or organization such as the Oral History Association or Society for Ethnomusicology or any organization whose disciplinary sort of methodology involves a heavy dose of recording and documentation in the field is paramount. If you're the individual field worker, you have to be able to absolutely be sure that the technology and the gear that you're using has a certain kind of fit, that it interacts with other technologies and other sort of storage media, that it'll actually work in the context of a repository should you choose to go there and deposit your collections materials. And you'll need to know, you'll have to do a fair amount of work. I mean, there are lots of organizations that are purport to give you, I think, solid advice on how to go about conducting field work and so on, including any number of organizations which, in their sort of piecemeal way, I would say, give the potential would-be field worker a sense of what's out there in terms of equipment. But I think it's a kind of a scattershot affair, and I'm hoping that something will come along which encompasses all these different sorts of do's and don'ts and precautions and protocols under one umbrella. And education, if it's coming from the viewpoint, from the standpoint of an organization which is purporting to give its scholars and its colleagues some kind of understanding of what's going on in the digital audio world, for instance, then the challenge for that organization is trying to make a difference, or have people understand the difference between doing it right and doing it right for right now. Because I believe that what's happening with digital audio and any other kinds of media is that the field is emergent, and what is sustainable and what is good for right now may not be good in 10 years from now. And this is something we're seeing at the federal level, which is why we have the Federal Audiovisual Digitization Guidelines Initiative, which is to convene people at the federal level who are cultural heritage organization managers and folks who have care of various collections objects, to try and figure out what is the state of the field at the moment, with the view towards saying these are best practices that we have to undertake in terms of preservation of materials, and is it good enough for now, and how long can we project that these things will be sustained in the future. Not to be facetious, but I think when we start thinking about futures, we need Alvin Toffler here to do that kind of work for us, or we might as well start burning goat entrails, because it's just that complicated and just that open-ended in my view. So that's where I think education really comes in, is to maybe offer everybody some sobering realities as to exactly what they can do and what they should and shouldn't do. What I've seen increasingly happening in terms of recording in the field is that there's a move or a tendency to say that video, for a lot of reasons, is the tool of choice for people doing oral histories or any kind of recording in the field. Obviously, there's a visual and oral dimension to it, simply said. There are things that can be done in terms of production values and aesthetics which are difficult to capture via audio alone. You have to be really good in order to set the scene, if you will, via an auditory mechanism or auditory means alone, and I'm talking about the production of it. But what I always tell people is all fieldwork events are contextual. There's a case-by-case basis that you have to fully understand before you go into the field to record, and the fieldwork situation determines the kind of gear I think that you'll have to carry into the field. For instance, I was just in Jamaica, and one of the things that I was trying to teach these 10 trainees from the Rastafari and Maroon communities was, video is sexy, video is what you want because it's what's going to give you the product that sheds greater light upon the topic, upon the subject matter, and so on. But do your particular research collaborators, do the community members with whom you're working, are they comfortable with being recorded in that particular way? Is it always the case that you will be in a situation where you can carry in a video recorder and hang out for 3 days and be assured that the batteries will hold up for those 3 days because you have no power? You can get by on AA batteries and one small audio recorder for days on end. Not so the case with video. So you're having to think about these kinds of ethical issues with regard to your the people with whom you're recording and getting information from, as well as the technical challenges of where you're going to be. And that's why I think there's no sort of one-size-fits-all approach. I would love there to be, and maybe as things get portable, maybe as we see more instances where there's availability of cheap power and so on, maybe those kinds of technological concerns might be allayed. I still think, however, that we need to be open to the fact that we have a number of different dimensions in which we can capture, and I use that word advisedly, record the memories of people who are rare and unique individuals who have unique perspectives and voices. And we need to be open to understanding that just being stuck on a particular technological solution, so-called, is really not a solution. It's just an impediment in some ways.